this, I'm out of here. Easy way, bro. Let's go, Big Daddy K. All right. Yep. Easy work. That's it, bro. How many reps y'all do? That one. 15 warm up. 10, 12, 15. Either way. We'll start counting after 5. Well, I like to always start with a strength movement at the beginning of workout.
Rozgrzewka. 16 kg, jedna handla.
You know what?
Latanie
I
barki.
actually love it because the handle is so small. They got a really nice grip. Something, yeah? The grip is so good. Oh, yeah. It's a nice grip. You feel strong. I feel strong grappling. Yeah. 80 kg, right? For 80 I'm definitely not going to do that. It's only 80. It's basically my body weight. Almost out of breath already. Just kidding, I'm not that bad. I'm ready. Alright, so one scary thing, when you see Larry start swapping up, oh, you're ready now. 25 breaths. You know what that means? Yes, sir. Go time. I'm there. What is you getting curly? Oh, that's horrible on the knees. I can't even throw these up. Oh, running back right? Oh, shit. Oh, the fuck? Me?
Biegunka team. Moc. Wyciskanie na barki. Handle. 16 kg jedna. Rozgrzewka.
Any part of it, so you can elevate to the top. You can also elevate to the bottom. Okay? So you can kind of ratchet it up to the top and ratchet it to the bottom. Okay? And normally once you start to ratchet it, that's when the sun comes and makes a big difference. Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Yes. Good. Just sit. Yep. Now, why don't you just not pin me and just ratchet through my hand forward. And I'll kind of stay with you and I'll end up flopping out and just eat my whole hand up. Yeah, okay. And use the whole pad, come forward, come back, take your wrist back. I'm not going to pull through you. Yeah, okay. Yeah. And the top first. Yeah, that's it. The top first. So post up first. Post, that's it. Good. Good. When you get it close, don't always drag back. Inside the bottom. Yeah. Here. More like. Yeah, I mean, investment in real estate is generally a good idea if you do it in the right place.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't know. Just keep taking this.
I remember when COVID first started, I hit you up. I was like, Joe, I'm scared you're the guest house. And you're like, I'm scared too. I'm like, that's not the answer I was looking for.
I was scared.
If you're scared, I'm scared.
In the beginning, I was real scared.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was like, because I didn't know. First of all, the information you get from China is so filtered by the Communist Party or the Chinese government. So like, who is telling the truth? Like, how bad is this? So when it hit, and then you know when you see them driving on the street with those big tanks spraying the houses. Did you ever see those videos from China?
No, I don't. Oh, yeah.
Like big Lysol trucks.
Looks like Ghostbusters.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, good, not good.
No.
Like, what are they doing? And then you getting information from cruise ships that were saying that it lasts up to 17 days just on surfaces. I'm like, oh my God, we're fucked. This is a super bug.
I was on a cruise at the beginning of the year, so I got it out of the way.
You were on a cruise?
Yeah, I got booked to perform on a Rave Cruise.
Oh, Jesus
And I was
Christ.
like, this might be the worst experience of my life, but there's no way I can pass up on having that, you know? It was so fun. It honestly, like, changed my life. I was like, first of all, who goes on a rave cruise? Second of all, who goes to see comedy on a rave cruise? And so I was like, I need to bring a friend. So I brought my friend Danny, and I was like, he's going to be the perfect person to have, whether this is the best or the worst time. And we pull up to the port in Miami, and it's like 11 a.m. and there's people in like blue wigs and fishnets drinking like Jack Daniel. Oh, that's me. Look at that smile.
You look so happy.
I was.
And look at everybody with no mask on.
No mask. This was, what a good time.
The old days.
Look at it. It looks like I have abs in that picture.
When did you even know you were back? This is January 21st. This is right before the world ended.
I just could watch Cousteau growing up, underwater life or animals hunting, animals doing anything. It's just so fascinating to me because I think even at a really young age, I've always just been intrigued in sort of what drives different animals to behave in the way they do and how body form matches to, I don't know what it was, but brains and how that all works. So I've always been obsessed with animals. And then my dad's a scientist. So he's a physicist, really early in philosophy. And so growing up in our home, we had scientists over for dinner. And graduate students would come over for barbecues and things like that.
Is he a Stanford professor?
He was at Stanford. He was mostly at Rocks Park, which is kind of famous if you read the Steve Jobs book. It's for the development of the GUI interface, the user interface, and sort of early days of the computer. So he had a lab there, and he had a lab in applied physics and something called symbolic systems, and kind of color computation, that kind of thing. So I grew up in this family where science was very prominent, and we had lots of discussions in our home that I would overhear and I didn't understand about physics. So we'd spend summers at the Aspen Center for Physics, which was like
good times.
Yeah, so and we were, and to be clear, you hear the word Aspen. We were a middle class family, but they had this Aspen Center for Physics. So Feynman, Richard Feynman was there, Murray Gell-Mann, like all these luminaries of physics, Peter Kaus. And my dad was really good at telling me the stories about these guys, and then I'd always want to look at them. And it was mostly guys back then. So I was kind of immersed in science from a young age. But right about age 13, my parents split up. And he moved overseas, he moved to Denmark. And my mom was really struggling with her breakup. And I wasn't in contact with him anymore. So I had this really unusual childhood where we can talk about sports and science. And I had this close friend compounds, but he really steered me towards behavioral practices. Like, what could I do each day from waking up to going to sleep that would serve my mental health and my productivity well? Right. Yeah, I owe him a tremendous amount, and especially because he wasn't just in the psychoanalytic theory, he also was cognitive behavioral. He understood the power of practices, not just discussing those.
I began meditation practice at that age in the mid-90s.
Yeah, I felt it was funny because I thought if I didn't sit in the first position, I wasn't doing it properly. Back then there was all this stuff around it, and it was mystical. And in my family, my dad's very conservative, and my mom's a little bit more of a free spirit. I was taught that anything that was hippie culture would fail and cause problems. Anything that was related to like conservative culture was fated to advance the progress of humanity.
Right.
It turned out neither one was true. But I needed people to push me in those directions. Lift weights, run, meditate, do your schoolwork, do your homework. And so I think now I have a good relationship with my parents, but I think I had to go out into the world and find those sort of paternal and maternal figures because they weren't in my home. I needed to
do you look back on your upbringing with gratitude? Like, how do you reflect on that experience and how it informs how you think about what you do now?
I'm immensely grateful for it because where I'm at today is my lab works on a number of issues related to hardcore neurobiology of regenerating the brain, trying to fix basically cure blindness and repair visual systems, but also things related to fear, courage, mindset, stress, anxiety, trauma, etc. And the early seed of seeing how science is done definitely gave me an advantage. I won't lie. Seeing how scientists interact and behave and understanding that they are
It was just hard work. Like right now, I'm trying to finish this book, And I should have been working on this book for like the last 9 months, right? And I just couldn't get it together. Like, it's a collaborative project, so there's a lot of different people that are involved in this, and they've been working diligently, sort of daily, putting this thing together. And I've just been focusing on the podcast and been unable to immerse myself in this project, because I know from past book projects, when I go in, I go all in. Like, the addict in me kicks in, and it's like, it just becomes my universe. And I've been completely paralyzed from taking that on. And so I've dithered away most of the quarantine without being productive on this project. And then about 10 days ago, we had a meeting and we established this deadline at July 10th to turn this thing in. And it was like a switch got flicked and I went all in, and it's all I can think about now. And in fact, everything else feels like extraneous and a distraction. I just want to get back so I can focus on this thing. And 10 days ago, I couldn't get myself into that position, and it's made me think about a great going on in my brain that, it's such a drastic state change. And what did I do to switch that? Well, a deadline was imposed upon me, and whatever happened neurochemically with that set in motion like a chain reaction of events that got me into the chair. And once I began the project, for me, it's all about like momentum, right? It's like getting to the starting line and beginning is so hard. Like, I will just go forever without doing it. And then I'm in, and then I'm all in 110%. And I'm like, why can't I be that person who just worked on it, an hour and a half every day for the last 3 months?
I can offer some potential explanations. I can relate.
And none of it involves a flow state.
Right.
It's all hard.
Yeah, and I'm friends with Steven Kotler. I think flow, and I think the Csikszentmihalyi, who originated this thing of flow, is really interesting. But I say right now, the most we can say about flow and mechanistically is backwards it spells wolf. We don't really understand it. People have come up with these theories. It's like hyperfrontality. I haven't seen the data, and I'm not picking on anybody. I'm putting that out there as a prompt for people to discover. So I think that, and to work on. I think it's a really interesting, highly desirable state. But I think we need to get comfortable as a culture in trying to understand our species. I do think that even just mental recognition can allow people to pass through it more easily. They think they're doing something wrong. And then rewarding yourself when you achieve any milestone, like, running to a particular location if you're trying to run a long distance, and then registering that as a partial win. What we know is that the dopamine that's released in response to that suppresses the total amount of adrenaline and gives you more room, more time, more energy to run, in the running example. And this is anchored in a real scientific result. So last year there was a paper published that essentially was asking why any human or animal quits at any behavior. Now, certain behaviors, like I can't lift a car. I can't lift a car. But if we're talking about running, or we're talking about long bouts of work, the question is, why do we quit? Like, what is that? And it turns out that every time we exert effort, a certain amount of noradrenaline in the brain is released. And there's a sort of a counter in the brainstem. And at some point, enough noradrenaline is released, and it shuts down cognitive control, deliberate control over the motor circuitry, and we quit. That's it. But the thing that can restore those levels, or it can sort of reset those levels lower and give us more gas, more mileage, is dopamine. And it makes perfect sense, because our species had to move against very challenging things in nature and in culture at every stage of our evolution, including now. 2020 is a good example of this. And when a good example would be, if you're really slogging it out and things are miserable, just think like the worst family vacation, everything's a disaster, or a very hard physical event, and someone cracks a joke, you almost immediately feel a sense of relief. You see this in the team that wins the Super Bowl. Both teams slogged it out. You have to believe they were both at max effort the entire game. Look at the team that wins. They have extra energy. They're jumping all over the place. So it can't be physical energy. It can't be glycogen related. It's not ketone related. It's nothing in the body in that sense. It's dopamine's ability to take that level of norepinephrine and manage that down. And so...
Siema. Ale fajnie się przejść bez kagańca. Oddychać świeżym powietrzem. Kichnąć sobie. Ciapek. Ja po tym wyskakający. Jak zawsze. Pozdro mocno.